Chapter 70 A Yin is born. Third update, please vote for me, please recommend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On March 1st, word got out that martial god Douluo, Zhou, was marrying the Saint Bibi Dong of the Spirit Hall. The news hit Notting City like a bomb. Soul masters everywhere were in an uproar. No way. Martial god Douluo's getting hitched again, and this time it's the Spirit Hall's saint. Remember those haters who said martial god Douluo was a lost cause, too busy chasing skirts to amount to anything? Take that. Martial god Douluo is the ultimate role model. Seriously. All year, it's been wife after wife for him, yet somehow he still became a titled Douluo without breaking a sweat. Mrs. Liu, Mrs. A Yin, Mrs. Li, the Xiaowu sisters, this is the sixth lady, the saint herself. Does the guy even have time to train? Didn't you hear what he said? The 12 golden bells are like a diamond shield. You can stay up all night, your energy's endless. He just parties hard at night and trains during the day, right? I'm green with envy. I'm joining the Wuzong for sure. Work hard at night, train during the day. Soul masters were practically tripping over themselves in jealousy. They weren't totally sold on the golden bell thing, but the fact remained, Zhou had been marrying wives left and right all year, and his power skyrocketed. That made everyone even more desperate to join the Wuzong and master martial arts. While the low-level soul masters were hyped up and looking forward to it, the big shots were sweating bullets. Meanwhile, Emperor Shui of the Heaven Dou Empire and Emperor Dai Jinba of the Star Luo Empire were locked in a secret meeting in a study. As emperors, they rarely left their palaces. But Zhou, now a titled Douluo at just 23, supposedly inventing martial arts and sporting 200,000-year soul rings. That was enough to drag them out. Zhou marrying Bibi Dong so soon. Is he trying to make a deal with the Spirit Hall? Dai Jinba asked, worried. The Spirit Hall was already power-hungry, but they lacked the soul masters to really boss the two empires around. That's what kept everyone in check. If Zhou and the Spirit Hall teamed up, and martial arts drew in tons of civilians to fight for them, the empires would be toast. What could they even do to compete? Zhou wants to build up the Wuzong, so he's obviously not interested in being second fiddle to anyone. The Spirit Hall's the same. They can't truly unite. Even if they team up now, they'll still be watching each other, because they're going to be rivals down the road. Shui said gravely. Either way, Zhou martial arts and strength had seriously shaken things up, but Shui and Dai Jinba weren't exactly buddy-buddy either. They were just both freaked out by Zhou. They had a quick chat, then split. First, we gotta get our hands on Zhou's martial arts skills. I don't buy that some kid in his 20s could come up with something flawless. Shui said, clearly suspicious of the 12 golden bells. He couldn't believe there was some unbeatable technique out there, invulnerable to everything. Endless energy. He was skeptical, but he wasn't going to come at Zhou until he understood what he was dealing with. Plus, the Heaven Dou Empire's strength was its army. Their soul masters couldn't hold a candle to the Spirit Hall or the other big sections. Even if he wanted to take Zhou out, he couldn't, unless they swarmed him with a huge army, but Zhou was too fast to corner. Dai Jinba was thinking along the same lines as Shui. First, learn the martial arts, know your enemy, be prepared. Outside nodding, after setting the wedding date with Zhou, Qian Xunji and Qian Douluo hauled Bibi Dong and the others back to the Spirit Hall. In a fancy carriage, Qian Douluo and Qian Xunji sat side by side. Qian Douluo was buried in the Yanggong manual Zhou had given him. Of course, to make sure they understood, Zhou had tossed in a book on meridians and acupuncture points. What brilliant ideas! Incredible talent! Qian Douluo muttered, increasingly amazed. Father, do you think Zhou's golden bell really is as powerful as he claims? Qian Xunji asked, still worried about it. It just seemed too good to be true. The golden bell's defense and power are definitely off the charts. As for the rest, I'm not so sure. Qian Douluo shook his head, then turned to Qian Xunji. But no matter how strong Zhou is, he's just a mortal. Once the angel god from our Qian clan arrives, Zhou's golden bell won't stand a chance. True. Qian Xunji replied, knowing that his family was blessed with the angel god's legacy, but neither his father nor himself had managed to pass the test. They weren't destined to become the angel god. Guess we gotta pin our hopes on your kids. Qian Douluo said, glancing at him. So you better get busy. Yes, father. Qian Xunji nodded. He was going to have to find a wife as soon as he got back. Joey, my Qianxunji wife is coming online. Come on. Asterisk. Night fell, time passed. After a busy day, the night was peaceful and quiet, and countless soul masters couldn't sleep. In one of the inns, Tang Yuehua stood by the open window, staring at the moon, feeling empty and a little expectant. Time ticked by, the evening breeze blew, carrying a hint of coolness. Disappointment filled Tang Yuehua's eyes, and she turned to go inside, but she left the window open. Almost like she was waiting for someone. Waiting for me, little lady. A raspy voice suddenly startled her. Before she could react, someone grabbed her from behind. Help, She tried to yell, but a hand covered her mouth. Tang Yuehua's eyes widened. She finally saw who it was and felt the familiar energy. Jerk. Tang Yuehua thought, both relieved and annoyed. She started punching Zhou Yi's chest. After a while, Zhou Yi let go. Tang Yuehua's face was flushed, and she leaned weakly against Zhou Yi. Her eyes were watery as she said, "You scared me half to death." Just a surprise. Not funny. Let me make it up to you then. Zhou Yi picked her up in his arms and carried her to the bed. I don't want you to make it up to me. Save it for your saint wife. Tang Yuehua said softly, feeling a pang of jealousy. When have I ever held back with you? Zhou Yi lowered his head and kissed her, looking into her eyes. I always give you everything I have. Always. Humph. Tang Yuehua scoffed, her face turning even redder, and asked, Are you really teaming up with the Spirit Hall? What do you think? Zhou Yi rolled his eyes and didn't let her answer. Be gentle. My grandfather's next door, oh. Tang Yuehua realized she shouldn't have said that. It only seemed to make Zhou Yi more enthusiastic. The next day, Tang Yuehua stayed in bed all day. Since Zhou Yi was marrying Bibi Dong at the beginning of March, and it was only mid-February, everyone stayed in Notting City. The hotels and inns were packed, and Zhou Yi made a fortune. But what really made Zhou Yi happy was that on February 18th, A Yin gave birth. Chapter 71 Level 98 Beauty Pill, Marrying Bibi Dong. Please vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's happening. It's happening. Sir, congratulations. It's a girl. Great, great. Rewards for everyone. Zhou Yi waved off the midwife and hurried inside to see A Yin, who looked pale but was smiling happily. He sat on the edge of the bed and gently held her small, soft hand with his warm, strong hands, channeling a bit of his sacred heart energy into her. The energy quickly brought color back to her face, giving her a healthy glow. Honey. Let me see our baby. Of course. Zhou Yi carefully placed the baby next to A Yin, holding her hand as he said, Let's name her Zhou Yueying. Yueying, perfect, I love it. A Yin was thrilled with the name. Really, any name Zhou Yi chose would have been perfect. She gazed at their daughter, her beautiful eyes shining with maternal love. Congratulations, sister. Congratulations, brother. Li Shishir, Li Baishir, Lu Erlong, and Xiao Wu arrived soon after, beaming and offering their heartfelt wishes. Li Shishir and Li Baishir gently touched their bellies. Their time was getting closer. Xiao Wu watched everyone, those who were already mothers or soon to be. She was the only one who hadn't conceived yet. She couldn't help but feel a pang of anxiety. Was it because she was a soul beast? But so was A Yin. Could it be that using a transformation pill, instead of naturally transforming, had made her infertile? After some reassuring words, Zhou Yi ushered the women out, so A Yin could get some rest. Don't worry, we'll keep trying, and it'll happen for you soon. Seeing Xiao Wu's distant look, Zhou Yi knew what she was thinking. He took her hand and squeezed it gently. Okay. Xiao Wu blushed, her eyes filled with shy affection. Once he was done with his guests, Zhou returned to his room, eager to see what rewards he had received. Ding! Congratulations on the addition of a child. Reward 1, 10 years of cultivation. Reward 2, 10 years of life extension. Reward 3, a bottle of Supreme Beauty Pills, 10 pills. Not quite as amazing as Erlong's first child bonus, but not bad. Zhou was pleased with the gifts, especially the beauty pills. They could literally keep someone young forever. If taken at 50, your appearance would revert to its peak and stay that way. It wouldn't freeze you at 50. If I offer these beauty pills, what woman could resist? Zhou smiled and accepted the 10 years of life and 10 years of cultivation. A surge of warmth flowed through him. Zhou felt his vitality increase, bringing an indescribable sense of ease and comfort. Then, the 10 years of cultivation poured in, becoming powerful true energy. His sacred heart technique went into overdrive. Zhou could feel his power growing. But the higher his level, the harder it became to advance, especially after level 96. Each level required a massive amount of cultivation, plus, the sacred heart art itself demanded a lot. Emperor Shitian had been practicing for 1,000 or 2,000 years. Even if Emperor Shitian wasn't the most gifted martial artist, the sacred heart art still required intense cultivation. The high requirements meant the strength gained was superior, the energy more pure, and the power greater. Whoosh! The force of 10 years of cultivation finally broke through a barrier. Zhou cultivation reached level 98, and he made considerable progress within that level. I'm getting there. Once Shishir and Baishir have their babies, I'll definitely hit level 99. Undeterred, Zhou was thrilled with his progress. He checked his stats panel. Host, Zhou, age, 23. Cultivation, title Douluo, level 98, title, God of War, Wuhun, Dragon Sword. Skills, Sacred Heart Technique, Mastered, Golden Bell Cover, level 12 Mastery, Soul Skills, Shadow Clone, 100,000 years, so close yet worlds apart, 1,001 years, Gravity Field, 4,000 years, Roar of Tigers and Dragons, 15,000 years, Dark Demon Lightning, 65,000 years, Earth Ant King Slayer, 90,000 years, True Form of the Divine Dragon, 90,000 years, Thousand Ton Barrier, 95,000 years, Myriad Swords Return to Origin, 100,000 years, Techniques, Heaven's Gate / Mastered. Grandmaster Medical Skills, Mastered, Ling Shi Finger, Mastered, Intentional Immortal Steps, Mastered, Heavenly Palace Phantom Success, 1762/5000, Shocking Tribulation Perfection, 11111, Lingbo Steps, Beginner, 456/5000, Wuzhu Chongquan, Mastered, Soul Bone, Wind and Thunder Wings, External, Special, Will Turning Technique Backpack, Zhuanyan Pill, Eternal Heart, Sacred Hearts 4 Absolutes, Sacred Hearts 4 Tribulations, 7 Impossible Situations, Nahai Sacred Heart Curse, 9. Yin Manual, Lingshuang Sword, Yang Finger, Experience, 6826. At my current level, I can definitely master the 7 impossible situations. Seeing the scroll gathering dust in his backpack, Zhou eyes lit up, and his heart raced. Let's do this. 7 impossible situations. Instantly, 5,000 experience points vanished. Zhou consciousness seemed to leave space and time, taking over a man in an ice sculpture mask, and experiencing the mastery of 7 impossible situations. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, time blurred, the man in the ice sculpture mask moved, dissolving into countless particles, easily passing through stone walls, and reforming at will. Buzz. Zhou opened his eyes, filled with profound insight. The secrets of the 7 impossible situations flowed through his mind, as if he had practiced it for eons. With a thought, Zhou's body dissolved into particles, silently slipping out of the Zhou mansion. Through streets and restaurants, he arrived at an inn. The moon hung high in the sky. Tang Yuehua was enjoying a bath in her room. Countless particles slipped in, reforming into Zhou behind her. Wow, wow! This is incredible. Zhou felt the power of the 7 impossible situations and was thrilled. This was truly a life-saving technique. It could make him immune to most damage, invincible below God level. Whether gods could break through it was another question. He had never experienced divine power and couldn't say for sure. Ah! Tang Yuehua jumped, startled. Hearing Zhou Yi's voice, she covered herself and turned, scolding. Why do you always sneak around like that? You scared me half to death. What's so incredible? You're incorrigible. Tang Yuehua's cheeks burned. She misunderstood. Zhou Yi hadn't been looking at her. Naturally, Zhou Yi wasn't about to set the record straight. Splash. Zhou Yi jumped into the bath, grinning. You think I'm incorrigible? Let's see about that. Yuehua, are you okay? Tang Xiao called from outside, hearing something. Yeah. I'm fine, just taking a bath, Okay. Tang Xiao didn't suspect anything. Times had changed. His grandfather, the level 99 Douluo, Tang Chen, was in charge. No thug would dare mess around here. That would be like an old man hanging himself, thinking he had a long life. Yue was all grown up and still gets restless taking a bath. She'll catch a cold. Tang Xiao mumbled. He could still hear splashing. Tang Yuehua had been running a fever a lot lately. In the mornings, her face was flushed, and she was exhausted. Zhou Yi, that's on me. Time passed. March arrived in the blink of an eye. Nodding City was buzzing with excitement. Today was the day Zhou Yi would marry the saint of the Spirit Hall. The Spirit Hall was a dominant force in the Douluo continent. It had the most spirit masters, and Spirit City was sacred to them. Zhou Yi marrying Bibi Dong was a sensation. Chapter 72 Marrying Bibi Dong. Xiaogang sends blessings to Greek guests. Please vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The wedding of martial god Douluo Zhou Yi to Bibi Dong, the holy maiden of the Spirit Hall, was the event in the Soul Master world, a true sensation across the land. The Spirit Hall being the Soul Master's Mecca, a saint's wedding was always going to be a lavish affair, and Zhou Yi spared no expense. Red decorations stretched for miles outside Nodding City. You rarely see a spectacle like this. It makes life worth living. Someone exclaimed. Martial god Douluo sure knows how to live. That's how a man does it. Another chimed in. I've seen so many titled Douluos. Feels like nearly all of them on the continent are here. Someone observed. The Spirit Hall truly is the Soul Master's holy ground. More than one titled Douluo has made an appearance today, especially that beautiful young woman following the saint. Turns out she's a titled Douluo. Heard she's Lingyuan Douluo, one of the Spirit Hall's elders. Martial god Douluo has married 6 wives this past year, including the saint. I wonder if he'll keep going after this wedding. One saint is worth 10 normal wives. If it were me, I'd be more than happy with just one. Wake up and smell the coffee. Get a grip. Why are you dreaming in broad daylight? Look in the mirror, pal. What's wrong with me? What goes around, comes around. Never underestimate the underdog. Martial god Douluo himself said, dream big, achieve big. How do you know I won't be the next martial god Douluo? With that little wooden hammer of yours? What's wrong with my wooden hammer? When the time is right, it'll transform into a god-tier weapon, and I'll smash your face in. Get out of here. You think you're the next god of war Douluo? I'll knock your block off right now. Numerous soul masters chattered excitedly, captivated by the unprecedented grandeur of the wedding. Zhou Yi's rise from a nobody soul master with nothing special to martial god Douluo especially fueled the ambition of many. Soul masters are already rare on the Douluo continent, and powerful ones are even rarer. Most are like Zhou Yi was. His success gave them hope. It didn't have to be like before, where innate soul power and martial soul dictated everything. Without innate soul power, becoming a soul master was impossible. With weak innate soul power and a lousy martial soul, one was destined to remain unremarkable. But Zhou Yi shattered that mold. So what if his innate soul power was low? Or his martial soul was trash? Even without innate soul power, one could still practice martial arts, building strength through discipline. Martial arts could even lead to godhood. Zhou Yi became a beacon of hope for countless struggling soul masters, and countless others who yearned to become one but couldn't. Many traveled from afar just to witness the wedding, hoping for a chance to become Zhou Yi's disciple. Of course, they knew becoming his direct disciple was next to impossible. They hoped that when his Wuzong established more branches and finally opened its doors to new disciples, there would be more spots available and the requirements wouldn't be too high. Tang Yuehua sat quietly in a corner, watching Bibi Dong bask in glory, her eyes filled with envy. Should I also marry Zhou Yi? She wondered. The thought had taken root and blossomed in her mind. She desired him completely. He often teased her in ways that left her flustered. She yearned to become more than just an occasional encounter. Yu Xiaogang, with a forced smile, greeted guests on Zhou Yi's behalf, hiding the bitterness and sadness within. His first love had become another one of the main wife's underlings. And he had to force a smile and welcome guests, feeling completely drained. His sorrow was overflowing. In his mind, Zhou Yi said, Xiaogang, take care of the guests, I'll be with your wife in the bridal chamber. Inside the Zhou mansion, lanterns glowed and decorations sparkled. After the wedding, night fell, and Zhou Yi entered the bridal chamber. Warm candlelight bathed the room in a festive, romantic glow. Bibi Dong, radiant in a bright red dress and wearing a red veil, sat nervously on the edge of the bed, her hands clasped in her lap. Zhou Yi lifted the veil. A delicate and beautiful face, flushed with shyness, was revealed, stunning. Endlessly captivating, her beauty took his breath away. Donger. Zhou Yi said, gazing at her gorgeous face. You look absolutely beautiful. Husband, darling, Bibi Dong replied, lowering her head shyly, nervously fidgeting with her fingers. Nervous, excited, happy, sweet, a flood of emotions washed over her. Donger, I have a little gift for you. Zhou Yi sat beside her, took her soft, cool hand, and presented a delicate jade box. Open it. Curiosity and anticipation danced in Bibi Dong's eyes as she gently opened the box, revealing a golden, perfectly round pill. A refreshing medicinal fragrance filled the air, bringing a sense of peace. This is the beauty pill. Zhou Yi held the pill out to Bibi Dong. As the name implies, it helps you stay young forever. Even someone in their 70s or 80s would still look youthful after taking it. Bibi Dong's eyes widened in shock, hardly believing that this small pill could hold such power. If such a thing was released to the public, countless people would kill each other to get their hands on it. It was, without a doubt, priceless. Open your mouth, Zhou Yi said gently, holding the pill to her lips. Bibi Dong felt a wave of sweetness, and parted her lips slightly, accepting the pill. Husband, thank you. Bibi Dong whispered happily. No woman could resist the allure of the beauty pill, especially considering Bibi Dong's status as the saint of the spirit hall, and the fact that she had never even heard of such an elixir, spoke volumes about its rarity. Zhou Yi had only 10 of these pills. He had already given one each to Lu Erlong, A Yin, Xiao Wu, Li Shishir, and Li Baishir, and now one to Bibi Dong. That meant he had given out 6 in total, leaving only 4. Yan Rou and Tang Yuehua needed 2 more, which meant only 2 were left. It was hardly enough, but, since he had the system, more should be available in the future, and even if he couldn't get the beauty pill. With Zhou Yi's current medical skills, combined with the medicinal herbs he found at the Ice and Fire Eyes, he could refine a less potent version. We're husband and wife. No need for formalities, Zhou Yi said, holding her hand tightly. He then poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Bibi Dong. Donger, it's getting late. Let's drink to our future and then rest. Looking at the breathtaking Bibi Dong, Zhou Yi was more than ready. Yes, Bibi Dong replied softly, her face flushed. She knew what he meant by rest. She picked up her wine glass, clinked it against his, and drank it in one gulp. Whether it was the strength of the wine or her own shyness, her fair cheeks were now flushed, hot and red. Seeing Bibi Dong so shy and charming, Zhou Yi couldn't help himself. Crash, star, the wine glass shattered on the ground. Zhou Yi pulled Bibi Dong close, embracing her with all his strength. The lights, turn off the lights. She whispered. No need to turn them off. I want to see the most beautiful things. No. P.S. Bibi Dong, where are the tickets? No tickets, still wanna watch. Chapter 73 Explosive Rewards, Qiankun Ring, 100,000-year-old soul bone, 100,000 experience points, p. You are listening at novelfull.audio. XP+1. XP+1. XP plus 1. The night was like ink, and the stars blazed, the moon hid shyly behind the clouds. Inside the bridal chamber, the dragon and phoenix candles flickered, wax dripping down like tears. It was a long and romantic night. Bibi Dong was truly captivating. Zhou was too excited to sleep. Morning arrived. Zhou gazed at the sleeping beauty in his arms. Her delicate face was flushed, and tear tracks glistened at the corners of her eyes. Stirring his heart, he kissed her forehead and then checked his system interface, knowing Bibi Dong's rewards would be substantial. There were 3, reward 1. 100,000 year soul bone, reward 2, 100,000 experience points, reward 3, Qiankun Ring, forget the 100,000 experience points. That alone was enough to boost his martial arts skills and fighting prowess significantly. The 100,000 year soul bone was a right leg. Bone, he absorbed it. He'd assumed it would grant him a single powerful skill, like the 100,000 year soul ring he'd gotten before. To his surprise, it granted 2. One was the power of the earth. Rooted to the ground, he could draw upon the earth's limitless energy to amplify his strength and endurance. The other was earth manipulation, the ability to control the earth itself. However, both skills were tied to the soul bone. Without it, they were unusable and couldn't be taught as martial arts. It was just like the soul bones taken from 100,000 year soul beasts in the Douluo continent, unlike the previous 100,000 year soul ring, which granted only one skill, 10,000 swords returning to the sect. That skill could be taught. Even if he lost the soul ring, he could still use 10,000 swords. Each had its advantages, both were good. And the Qiankun Ring was even more extraordinary. It contained a small world, hundreds of miles across. Mountains and water were inside, allowing storage of living beings and cultivation of elixirs. By channeling his power, he could even alter the flow of time within. A divine artifact, that he slipped it onto his finger, marveling at it. He could cultivate elixirs within, creating a portable herb garden. More importantly, in times of danger, he could shelter his loved ones inside and escape. Convenient, safe. Dong'er is amazing. Looking at the beauty in his arms, Zhou felt a surge of desire. Husband. Bibi Dong stirred, awakened by Zhou gaze. Her eyes were shy and unfocused as she whispered his name. Whoa! Zhou felt a jolt. This is going to be rough. I'll have to suffer for you. He rolled over. Ah, husband, no, okay. No. Or okay. He didn't give her a chance to answer. Time passed, the sun climbed high, its light sneaking through the window to touch Bibi Dong's face. Tear tracks still lingered. Her cheeks were flushed, like a drunken goddess. Zhou watched her, a soft smile on his face, then gently eased her aside and slipped out of bed. Bibi Dong stirred, frowning. She opened her eyes to see Zhou powerful physique. Remembering the earlier events, she grumbled. You big bully. I have to see my teacher today. Just don't go. Zhou held her soft hand, caressing her gently, channeling holy heart energy into her. I'll just tell him you're not feeling well. You're the worst. She blushed, grabbed a pillow, and playfully threw it at him. Rest well. Zhou grinned, tucked her under the covers, and left. He closed the door behind him. Zhou adjusted his belt, feeling energized. After freshening up, Zhou told Qian Xunji that Bibi Dong was ill. Qian Xunji frowned, others were quietly impressed. Martial god Douluo is incredible. The saintess can barely walk. Is that the power of the Vajra body? Scary stuff. After chatting with everyone, Zhou publicly announced that in 3 days, he would go to Sunset Forest to select a location for Wuzong. Wuzong would be built in Sunset Forest. The announcement ignited excitement among the soul masters who had been waiting. Finally, the news they were waiting for. Thankfully they hadn't given up. Looking at the eager faces, Zhou added, anyone interested is welcome to come to Sunset Forest. I'll be setting up the framework for Wuzong. Create a framework for Wuzong. They were confused, but intrigued. Soul masters immediately set off for Sunset Forest. They knew Zhou worked fast, even leaving in 3 days. They might not catch up. Missing this was unthinkable. Qian Xunji and the others also excused themselves. They planned to observe as well. To see Zhou establish the foundation of Wuzong in Sunset Forest. Would he just draw a circle and claim the territory? As the news spread, countless soul masters hurried toward Sunset Forest. The journey wasn't short, they couldn't afford to delay, lest they arrive too late. As the soul masters departed, Nodding City seemed deserted. Zhou Yi spent the next 3 days, enjoying time with Bibi Dong, and Bibi Dong lived up to the hype, a match made in heaven. Zhou Yi was in his element, he could see you, he was obsessed with you. The 3 days flew by. Zhou Yi launched into the sky, foam lay wings spread wide. Heading toward Sunset Forest. Outside Sunset Forest, crowds gathered, countless soul masters had converged, scattering soul beasts in panic. Emperor Shuiyi of the Tiando Empire was displeased that Zhou Yi chose to put Wuzong nearby, a source of helplessness and suspicion. Today, he brought royal experts to observe Zhou Yi's intentions. Look! Martial God Douluo is here, someone shouted, and everyone looked to the sky. Zhou Yi folded his foam lay wings, descending gracefully. His figure, like an immortal, was mesmerizing. Zhou Yi greeted the crowd and headed for the forest center. Hurry, follow. Is martial god Douluo going to build Wuzong in the heart of Sunset Forest? The soul masters rushed after him. The mass movement sent the soul beasts fleeing. There was no danger. Qian Xunji, accompanied by Ju Douluo and Ghost Douluo, followed behind. Sunset Forest wasn't vast. Zhou Yi reached the center quickly. His keen eyes surveyed the area, and a plan formed in his mind. He descended. The distant followers lost sight of him. Quick! Faster! Soul masters surged forward, and a soul saint near the front felt a sudden threat. He froze, then quickly retreated. Boom! The earth shook, like an earthquake, and stones and dirt rose to form thick earth walls. What is this? The rushing soul masters halted, staring at the rising walls in disbelief. Was Zhou Yi building a sect alone? Was it even possible? Using earth manipulation to build walls wasn't unheard of, but most soul masters would quickly exhaust their power. Building an entire city, or even just the walls, was impossible. No one would bother. What's Zhou Yi up to? Qian Xunji watched from a distance on a hill. He can't be planning to build a city single-handedly, is he? Qian Xunji trembled, remembering Zhou Yi's description of the 12-level golden bell and its continuous flow of power. Could it be true? Was Zhou Yi truly going to build a city by himself? Chapter 74 Shocking Chihiroji. You are not a human, you are a monster. Second update, please vote F. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whoosh! A huge crowd of soul masters rushed up from behind, then stopped dead. Jaws dropped at the sight before them, a colossal city wall erupting from the ground, shaking the mountains and earth. What the heck is going on? Is martial god Douluo building an entire city by himself? Holy crap, that's gotta be over 300 feet high already, right? And it's still going up. No way. The soul masters were dumbfounded. The sheer height of the wall was the first shock. Wuhun City, the soul masters' mecca, only stood at about 260 feet tall. This wall was already dwarfing Wuhun City. Even more insane. It was Zhou Yi pulling this off with a single soul skill. How could anyone have that much power? The soul power needed to fuel something like this had to be astronomical, but then again, Zhou Yi did just casually wipe the floor with peerless Douluo Qian Daolu, who was level 99. If he was going all out, and maybe using 100,000-year soul skill, maybe this was possible. Boom! Under the blank, stunned stares of the assembled soul masters, the wall finally topped out at a staggering 2,600 feet. Is that even legal? At that height, can it even be built on? How long would that take? Even the titled Douluos were speechless, a sudden feeling of insignificance washing over them as they gazed up at the massive wall. Still, they couldn't imagine Zhou Yi building the entire city himself. This had to be some kind of template, right? They'd definitely need a ton of manpower later on to actually finish the job, except, they were wrong. Zhou Yi was planning to build the whole city solo, one person, faster if he did it himself. Otherwise, who knew how long it would take to build his dream city? Plus, the walls Zhou Yi was creating with his earth-bending abilities were tougher than bedrock. Even a titled Douluo couldn't bust through them. Nobody else could do that. These walls were 2,600 feet high and 1,300 feet thick. With each use of his earth-bending power, Zhou Yi could conjure about 1,300 feet of wall length. the power on display was mind-blowing. Even Qian Xunji, Ghost Douluo, and Ju Douluo were reeling. The man was a powerhouse, no wonder Qian Daolu couldn't stand a chance. Terrifying. That's gotta be 100,000-year soul skill, for sure. And burning through that much juice to use it must take a massive toll. If martial god Douluo can only do that once, that's great news. Ju Douluo blurted out, still shocked. Exactly. The power is ridiculous, so the cost must be insane. Ghost Douluo agreed. They refused to believe Zhou Yi could span those kinds of skills. He's up there. Qian Xunji spotted Zhou Yi on top of the wall, a relieved smile creeping across his face. Even he had been spooked by Zhou Yi's display of strength, a single soul skill conjuring up a 2,600-foot high, 1,300-foot thick, 1,300-foot long wall. It defied all logic. Hopefully, Zhou Yi only had one of those in the tank. Seeing Zhou Yi standing calmly, Qian Xunji was still nervous. It seemed Zhou Yi could not perform it a second time. The consumption is not as big as imagined. Zhou Yi should still have some energy left. Then, Zhou Yi drew a long, wicked-looking sword. All eyes locked on him, wondering what he was up to. Clang. Star, the Lingshuang sword sliced free of its sheath, unleashing a brutal torrent of sword energy. The blade flared to life, so bright that everyone reflexively squinted or shut their eyes. When they opened them again, Zhou Yi had already resheathed the sword. A ripple of confusion went through the crowd. Then, click, 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 chunks of earth and stone began to fall away from the colossal wall. Peering closer, they made out three enormous characters, flowing with energy, beginning to form. Martial God City. Each character was dozens of feet high, shimmering as if coated in gold, and even more terrifying. Staring at the characters, they felt as if they were witnessing countless swords slashing across the sky, rending the world apart, an onslaught of terror. Ack! Cries of pain echoed. Soul masters clutched at their burning eyes, tears streaming down their faces, unable to bear the sight of the three huge characters. Martial God City. Zhou Yi originally wanted to call it Emperor Wu City. It felt more domineering, but then he remembered the Douluo continent. They had soul emperors, and the soul emperor wasn't even the strongest. There were also soul saints, soul doyuos, title doyuos, and gods. Even the tiny village he transmigrated to had called itself Emperor Soul Village. They'd ruined the word emperor. Calling his city Emperor Wu just didn't feel like enough, so Wuxin City would do. It was like blocking his account. Anyway, it was his city. He could call it whatever he wanted. Martial God City. Martial God City. A city like this would be the greatest city in the entire continent. But, how much manpower? How much material? Building a city like that, at 2,600 feet tall. How many years would it even take? Shock warred with worry. A lot of them were hoping to join the Wuzong, but if building this city was too big a task, the Wuzong might not even get off the ground. Boom. Star. The earth shuddered again. Zhou Yi materialized on the ground, and the crowd didn't know when. He slammed his foot on the earth. A wave of earthen yellow light burst out. The ground bucked and twisted like some gigantic earthworm, and walls of stone and earth surged up, seamlessly merging with the first wall. How can this be? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Qian Xunji, Yu Guan, Gue Mei, and countless other soul masters were dumbstruck. How could Zhou Yi possibly still have soul power, or martial arts energy? Believe it or not, Zhou Yi pressed on. He was like a man taking a stroll, each step covering hundreds of feet, each step raising another stretch of wall. The onlookers were slack-jawed, completely speechless. This wasn't a human, this was a god. They hurried to follow, and as they kept pace with Zhou Yi, they realized that the martial god city he was building was going to be absolutely massive. Is this the power of martial arts? God of War Douluo said that if you finish the 12 levels of the Golden Bell, you can stay awake without rest, and your skills will continue to flow. It's true. This is insane. Yeah. With martial god Douluo's strength and his bottomless well of energy, he's unstoppable. Who in the world could take him on? The way martial god Douluo is fighting, he could wipe out an army of millions by himself. I'm joining the Wuzong, no question. It'd be even better to become a disciple of the god of war. Martial arts, martial arts. It's incredible. that the Soul Master's eyes burned with zeal. They worshipped and revered Zhou Yi more than ever, dogging his heels like pilgrims. Qian Xunji, Yu Guan, and Gue Mei trailed behind, like zombies. Seeing Zhou Yi relaxed, taking his time, not even breaking a sweat, Qian Xunji just went numb. This guy wasn't human, he was a monster. No wonder Donger couldn't get up right away. Who could deal with this? Martial god Douluo is a god, truly. Emperor Shui sighed, his face downcast. An overwhelming sense of awe settled deep in his eyes. We can only befriend him, never make him an enemy. Chapter 75. Give me 100,000 experience points, and the Golden Crow and Jade Rabbit appear together. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Is this really Martial God City? Lingyuan Douluo, with her elegant figure and icy demeanor, arrived at Sunset Forest alongside the Snake Spear and Ghost Leopard titled Douluo elders from the Spirit Hall. The sight of the towering city before them, a colossal structure rising 800 meters high, 400 meters thick, and sprawling across acres beyond measure, left them speechless. Even though they'd steeled themselves beforehand, standing beneath Martial God City and gazing up at this imposing giant that resembled some ancient, slumbering beast, they couldn't help but feel like ants. It was hard to fathom that Zhou Yi had built it in just 3 days. In fact, it had been 4 days since Zhou Yi finished the city. Lingyuan Douluo and the other Spirit Hall elders had come to see it after word of Zhou Yi's astonishing feat spread, and they weren't the only soul masters coming to see the city. Martial God City was new, essentially just a shell. Though Zhou Yi had roughed out the streets and buildings, it still needed finishing touches. This was a massive undertaking, demanding resources that were hard to quantify. Zhou Yi entrusted the decoration to Shui Yi of the Heaven Do Empire and the incredibly wealthy 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School, in exchange for a skill, 1 Yang finger. It was the simplified basic internal skill Zhou Yi had originally intended as a betrothal gift for Qian Xunji. That's the power you have when you control core technology. This rubbish internal skill, as Zhou Yi called it, wouldn't just last them a lifetime, but until Martial God City was officially established, it would certainly keep them busy. Agony Douluo suddenly clutched his eyes, crying out in pain. Lingyuan Douluo and the others tensed, looking around, but relaxed when they saw there was no immediate threat. Apparently, Agony Douluo had heard that the characters of Martial God City could not be looked at directly. Not believing the stories, he decided to test it. After only 3 seconds, he felt a world-splitting sword light hurtling toward him, cleaving him in 2. He snapped awake, his eyes burning, blood streamed from both eyes. Whoa! Lingyuan Douluo and the others gasped, looking at the 3 characters Martial God City with a newfound sense of awe. Terrifying, the martial god had imbued such power in those 3 words. It was chilling. The characters Martial God City contained the sky-opening sword intent that Zhou Yi now controlled. It was incredibly potent, and a regular title Douluo stood no chance, especially since the sword intent targeted the will and soul. Learning from Agony Douluo's experience, Lingyuan Douluo and the others proceeded more cautiously into the city. The streets, tens of meters wide, were lined with towering buildings made of solid earth and stone. Even in their unfinished state, they still exuded a powerful aura. The more they explored, the more respect they had for Zhou Yi. They couldn't help but think about becoming his disciples, and learning martial arts. They were already around level 91, no matter how hard they trained, they would reach their limit. Their future was already mapped out. At this stage, they were desperate to grow stronger. Before, there was no way. But now there was a chance. By joining Martial God City and learning martial arts, they could definitely take the next step, and perhaps even reach level 95 or higher. However, as Spirit Hall titled Douluo elders, they couldn't make such decisions as easily as ordinary soul masters, and they weren't the only soul masters contemplating this. Zhou Yi was aware of all this. At least, he could guess. Wasn't the whole point of building the city to impress potential followers and intimidate the opposition? If it didn't work, then he had failed. After finishing Martial God City yesterday, Zhou Yi didn't go back to Nodding City. Instead, he headed to the Ice and Fire Well. Deep in Sunset Forest, he hadn't used the 100,000 experience points he got from Bibi Dong to improve his martial arts. Instead, he planned to upgrade his Golden Bell. Even though the Golden Bell was at level 12, the max level, he could still add experience points. Enough experience points would allow the golden bell to break through its limits and evolve into an even stronger skill, but 100,000 wasn't enough to completely transform the golden bell, so Zhou Yi had a plan. If he didn't have enough experience points, he'd use his talents, elixirs, and training environment to make up for it. After a day of work, Zhou Yi refined the 8-corner black ice herb and the fierce flame apricot flood dragon tree, two immortal, extremely hot and cold poisonous plants, into a special black ice fire pill, which would help him upgrade the golden bell. With the elixir ready, Zhou Yi sat cross-legged, taking time to reach his peak condition. An hour later, Zhou Yi slowly opened his eyes, filled with a breathtaking light. He looked up at the sky. It wasn't completely dark, but he could already see the faint glow of the moon. The golden crow falls, the moon rabbit rises. Yin and yang alternate. Now is the time. Zhou Yi moved, sitting cross-legged in the center of the ice and fire well. The concentrated energy of ice and fire made it a perfect training ground. Gulped down the black ice fire pill, the terrifying power of extreme cold and heat exploded inside him. The extreme cold and heat of the ice and fire well swirled around him, attacking him from both inside and out. If Zhou Yi hadn't tempered his body with the Vajra physique, he might have been crippled or even killed. Still, one side of Zhou Yi's body turned white, radiating cold, while the other turned red, radiating heat. Zhou Yi focused on channeling his level 12 golden bell, while using the power of the external and internal ice and fire to temper his body. He hoped to deduce the level 13 water, fire golden bell, but this level wasn't just about physical training, it also required enlightenment. On his own, even with the help of the special black ice fire pill and the ice and fire well, it would be tough to unlock the secret of the level 13 water, fire golden bell anytime soon, but he had one last trick. Give me more. That he poured all 100,000 experience points into the maxed-out golden bell. This time, Zhou Yi entered a state of enlightenment. He was one with heaven and earth. His spirit seemed to merge completely with the cosmos, touching the very essence of the Tao. Glug, glug, glug. The water in the ice and fire well bubbled. Chirp, chirp. As darkness fell, the sounds of small animals filled the jungle. Slowly, wisps of light began to gather around Zhou Yi. First, tiny specks of watercolored light coalesced, gradually forming huge lotus leaves. These watercolored lotus leaves surrounded Zhou Yi, swaying slightly in the wind. Then, tiny spots of flame-colored light gathered, forming flame-colored lotus leaves, which also surrounded Zhou Yi. 2 layers of lotus leaves, 1 layer of watercolored lotus leaves, 1 layer of flame-colored lotus leaves. Each lotus leaf had 3 petals. Whoosh! Water and fire met, and wind rose out of thin air. Hua hua hua. The watercolored lotus leaves on the lower layer spun counterclockwise, the flame-colored lotus leaves on the upper layer spun clockwise. The 2 layers of lotus leaves rotated in opposite directions, turning slowly, deliberately. Zhou Yi wasn't using any of his own power. Everything was natural. The power of water and fire tempered Zhou Yi's body, constantly strengthening and transforming him. But he remained in his trance. It was like swimming in an ocean of water and fire, absorbing all the nutrients he could. Boom! After an unknown amount of time, a huge flame condensed in the sky, followed by a surging river. In the flames, the faint image of a golden crow emerged. In the river, a jade rabbit seemed to be rising. This massive phenomenon above the ice and fire well was like 2 giant spotlights in the dark night, drawing the attention of every soul master in Martial God City. Look! What is that? Martial God City buzzed with excitement as countless soul masters gathered to look at the bizarre scene at the mountaintop. Lingyuan Douluo, Maray Douluo, and the other Spirit Hall elders were still in the city. They flew to the top of a building and stared at the ice and fire well. Atop the mountain, their pupils contracted, filled with shock. Golden crows coalesced in the flames. The jade rabbit appeared above the river, the golden crow and the moon rabbit, together. Chapter 76 Poison 5 Title Douluo, Corpse Picking Spirit Kite Douluo, 4th Update, Please VOT. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The golden crow and the moon rabbit together. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. Could this be some kind of rare celestial treasure? Agatha Douluo's eyes blazed with inspiration. His breath quickened as 9 dazzling soul rings rose around him, and he took off toward the mountain peak. Lingyuan Douluo, Ghost Leopard Douluo, Snake Spear Douluo, and Demon Bear Douluo charged after him. If this vision really heralded the birth of a treasure, it had to be something extraordinary. They all pushed themselves to their maximum speed, quickly reaching the mountainside, where a thick fog blanketed everything. The fog made them instinctively uneasy, but with the treasure so close, they didn't stop to think. Besides, they were titled Douluo, powerful enough to handle anything. They didn't expect a little mist could hurt them. The 5 of them plunged into the thick fog. This is bad. The fog is poisonous. Elephant Douluo cried out, trying to use his soul power to fight it, but his power was failing and he was growing weak and dizzy. Too late to turn back, we have to push through. Demon Bear Douluo, with the highest cultivation level at 93, could vaguely see about 50 meters ahead, just beyond the fog's reach. Retreating would mean going back further than that. Spirit Kite Douluo, Porpoise Douluo, Ghost Leopard Douluo, and Snake Spear Douluo understood this as well. Gritting their teeth, they surged forward. 30 meters, 20 meters, 10 meters, they were through. Demon Bear Douluo burst out first, but the moment he cleared the mist, he collapsed, sprawled on the ground, unable to move. Ghost Leopard Douluo, Array Douluo, Snake Spear Douluo, and Spirit Kite Douluo followed Demon Bear Douluo, collapsing one after another. After a few weak struggles, they passed out. Greed is a killer. That thought flashed through their minds before they lost consciousness. Usually, they wouldn't have rushed into such a thick fog so recklessly. They would have tested it first. Even if they were poisoned, they could have retreated in time, but the allure of treasure had clouded their judgment. Although the 5 of them were together, they were also competing for the same prize, so they rushed in, one after the other, and of course, they were confident in their titled Douluo level power. In fact, if Zhou hadn't set up the poisonous fog himself, their cultivation would have allowed them to roam 99% of the Douluo continent without worrying too much. Many other soul masters, like the 5 Lingyuan Douluo, arrived soon after. They just weren't as fast as the titled Douluo. They, too, quickly reached the poisonous fog. As each soul master disappeared into the mist, even the weakest were instantly poisoned. No, this mist is poisonous. Don't just charge in. Damn. This poisonous mist is powerful. I never expected such a dangerous place deep in the sunset forest. Seeing the soul masters ahead get poisoned, the others finally got scared. Some soul masters cautiously tested the fog, but their faces changed drastically after only a couple of steps, and they quickly retreated, their complexions already turning green, showing they'd been seriously poisoned. That frightened everyone else even more. Now, nobody dared to charge in rashly. They paced back and forth in front of the poisonous mist, like ants on a hot plate, frantically trying to figure out a solution. Some healing soul masters tried to use their healing abilities to push through, but the poisonous fog was too strong, and their cultivation was too low. They, too, were quickly poisoned. That crushed everyone's hopes and made the soul masters even more hesitant. Half an hour later, the vision on the mountaintop suddenly stopped and vanished. The vision is gone. Did someone grab the treasure? Or did it fully manifest? Their anxiety grew, but they were helpless against the deadly poisonous mist. Meanwhile, between the eyes of ice and fire, Zhou sat cross-legged. His clothes had long since burned to ash. The power of lunar yin and the power of the sun were condensing within him, merging like the yin and yang symbol of Tai Chi. Golden divine patterns appeared on his chest and back, a sun pattern, a Tai Yin divine pattern. Looking closely, you could see a golden crow roaring and a jade rabbit flying within the patterns. Crack. Crack. Zhou felt every cell in his body explode and then begin to rebuild, fueled by the power of the 12th lunar month, the power of the sun, and 2 uniquely cold and hot immortal herbs, star anise ice grass and fierce apricot jiaoshu. Cell by cell, Zhou felt reborn, filled with unprecedented strength and vitality, capable of regenerating severed limbs with ease. My 13 levels of water, fire, and golden bell is derived from the 9 heavens of chiming in the wild era. There are differences, but they're pretty much the same. Zhou was very satisfied with his accomplishment. With the fusion of lunar and solar power to create divine water and fire, Zhou felt he could stand among the weaker gods. Suddenly, Zhou frowned. His body grew turbulent, as if he was immersed in scorching lava, causing intense discomfort. What's happening? Are there any after effects? It shouldn't be. Zhou Yi felt his breakthrough had been perfect. Despite developing the water, fire, and golden bell himself, he didn't sense any issues. Could it be the star anise ice grass and the fierce apricot jiaoshu, those two extreme immortal herbs causing trouble? With no time to ponder, Zhou Yi felt he could no longer contain the raging power within him and instantly burst out of the eyes of ice and fire. This place was full of elixirs, it was a treasure trove for growing them. He couldn't let it be ruined. Sunset Forest wasn't that big, but it wasn't small either. Once outside, he could unleash his power without worry. Elders of Spirit Hall, leaving the ice and fire eyes, Zhou Yi spotted Demon Bear Douluo, Ghost Leopard Douluo, and other Spirit Hall titled Douluo lying nearby. He had been at a crucial moment in his breakthrough and hadn't paid attention before. It must have been the vision from my breakthrough that drew them here. In a flash, Zhou Yi understood why they were there. Zhou Yi wasn't going to pay them any attention, but when he glanced at Lingyuan Douluo lying half on the ground, his whole body tensed. Lingyuan Douluo wasn't young, but as a title Douluo, time seemed to have left her untouched, lying half on the ground, her legs slightly bent, her curves were exquisite, showing off her graceful and full figure. It was so breathtaking that it stirred endless desires. Her martial soul was a fire attribute eagle, the flame eagle. The moment Zhou Yi saw her, he felt as if she had used her eighth soul skill on him, blood boiling. The raging power within him was impossible to suppress. Crap! Zhou Yi couldn't help but curse. In a flash, he reached Lingyuan Douluo and scooped up her full-bodied form. Don't blame me, you brought this on yourself. If I don't save you, you'll die. I'll take responsibility for you. Before he lost all reason, Zhou Yi pulled out an antidote pill and gave it to Lingyuan Douluo. The next moment, the violent power within Zhou Yi overwhelmed his senses. Crap, P.S., Lingyuan Douluo, give me the ticket first. Then get on the bus. Chapter 77, Rewards exploded. Qianxunji cried and fainted in the toilet. Please vote for me, please. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The mountain wind howled, and the chill cut right through you. After Lingyuan Douluo took Zhou Yi's detox pill, her title Douluo cultivation helped her detoxify pretty fast. But the poison wasn't completely gone. Lingyuan Douluo woke up. Maybe it was the freezing wind, or the pain of waking up. Probably both. Ugh. Waking up, Lingyuan Douluo took in her situation, and it hit her like a ton of bricks. Her mind went blank. The next thing she knew, she was instinctively channeling her soul power, trying to blast away the creep who'd taken advantage of her. Boom, her soul power surged, but the guy was like a rock in the ocean. No matter how hard her power crashed against him, he didn't budge. Die! Lingyuan Douluo raised her hand and slammed her palm into Zhou Yi's chest. No holding back. Clang. The blow landed with a ringing sound, like striking an ancient bell. It didn't kill him, it just made her arm go numb. If she hadn't been poisoned and weakened, the rebound alone would have broken her arm. Even so, Zhou Yi reacted on instinct. Like a cornered lion. Even wilder. And that was bad news for Lingyuan Douluo. Ha! Lingyuan Douluo let out a shaky breath, the fight draining out of her. If she couldn't fight back, then, whatever, time lost all meaning. Eventually, Zhou Yi's eyes cleared, and the out-of-control power within him settled. Lingyuan Douluo stared with glazed eyes at the deep, beautiful night sky, with its bright moon and scattered stars. The night was like water, romantic and alluring. But to her, it felt like hell. Zhou Yi rolled over, pulled Lingyuan Douluo into his arms, wrapping an arm around her slender waist, pressing his chest against her smooth back. He savored the way they fit together, enjoying the quiet after the storm. Resting his chin on her fragrant shoulder, Zhou Yi inhaled the scent of her hair and whispered in her ear, "Don't worry, I'll take care of you." Lingyuan's vacant eyes flickered to Zhou Yi. She hadn't expected this kind of disaster just because she'd been curious about Wuhun City. It was all greed's fault. If she hadn't been so set on the treasure, she wouldn't have gotten poisoned, and Zhou Yi wouldn't have taken advantage of her. Get off! Lingyuan's voice was icy. Remembering how ruthless Zhou Yi had been, the last thing she wanted was him taking responsibility. I have a little gift for you. I think you'll like it. Zhou wasn't about to leave. Instead, he pulled her closer. He flipped his hand, and an exquisite jade box appeared. He opened it, revealing a golden, round elixir inside. Ling Yuan glanced at it, but remained cold and silent. This is a beauty elixir. It'll keep you young forever, or even make you younger. Zhou whispered in her ear, I don't have many of these, so I'm giving this one to you. Ling Yuan's pupils shrank slightly. A beauty elixir? Could it really keep you young, or even restore your youth? Was it real? As an elder of the Spirit Hall, she'd never heard of such a thing. But the Book of Changes was full of mysteries. Maybe such an elixir was possible. Come on, open up. Zhou held the beauty elixir between his fingers, brought it to Ling Yuan's mouth, and spoke softly. Ling Yuan's heart did a flip. She was curious, even desperate, for the elixir. But to just obey. She felt a pang of shame. After what Zhou had done, how could she be swayed by a simple pill? Gulp, the temptation was too strong. She couldn't help but swallow it. The elixir melted in her mouth, turning into a warm current that swept through her. She felt her face flush. Is it working? Ling Yuan wondered, but she was still weak and stuck with Zhou. She couldn't see her own face. As if reading her mind, Zhou produced a mirror. In the moonlight, Ling Yuan saw a delicate, flushed face, with fair and rosy skin. On the surface, it looked the same as before, but as a woman, and a title Douluo, Ling Yuan knew her own appearance inside and out. Not even the slightest change could escape her notice. She really had gotten younger. She seemed even more perfect in the mirror than she had been at 20. Is this real? It felt like a dream. So surreal. Pretty, isn't it? And you'll stay this young forever. Zhou whispered in her ear. Ling Yuan didn't respond, but Zhou could feel her softening. He'd lost control of his power and his head. He'd gone too far, so Zhou was ready to make it up to her. Steal her heart along the way. Then she could have kids for him. I also have some homemade medicinal wine, brewed with all kinds of elixirs. It's really good, and it's cold out here. Zhou pulled out a pot of medicinal wine and gently brought it to Ling Yuan's lips. With the beauty elixir easing the tension, Ling Yuan cooperated, opening her mouth and taking a sip. The wine filled her heart with warmth. Ling Yuan was surprised to find it also had healing properties. She had been poisoned, and although Zhou had cured her, she was still a little damaged. And then Zhou had, well. When she woke up, she'd thrown herself at Zhou. Zhou's golden bell defense had its own rebound effect, and she'd gotten hurt more than once. Now, it all seemed to be healing quickly. Wait, there's something different about this. Suddenly, Ling Yuan raised her eyebrows, widened her eyes, and said in surprise, can this wine actually improve my cultivation? That she was a title Douluo. At her level, improvements were incredibly hard to come by. She was at level 91. Decades later in the original stories, when she gets killed off, she's only around level 92 or 3. She'd basically been stuck there for life, but now, just one sip of wine and her cultivation had improved. She felt that if she drank the whole bottle, she could level up. 1 level for a bottle of wine. For a title Douluo. How terrifying was that? If word got out, it would scare people to death. It can indeed improve your cultivation. Zhou nuzzled her white, tender cheek and said softly, drink more, if you like it. As he spoke, Zhou kept feeding her the wine. Ling Yuan took a few more sips, her face growing redder and more alluring. How about I marry you in a few days? Zhou held something in his hand and said softly, I'll personally teach you some powerful martial arts skills, plus other elixirs. I can't promise you'll become a god, but I guarantee you'll reach the 99th level peerless Douluo within 10 years. Ling Yuan's body trembled, and deep in her eyes, a hot, burning desire sparked. As a level 91 title Douluo, who didn't want to get stronger? Becoming a god was a distant dream. But a level 99 title Douluo was something she could aspire to. After reaching the title Douluo level, every step was a struggle. Especially after level 95. It was a grind. Will the Pope and the Grand Priest agree? After a moment of silence, Ling Yuan ignored Zhou Yi's wandering hands and brought up Qian Xunji and Qian Douluo. Clearly, she was agreeing. Zhou Yi wasn't surprised. If he couldn't win over Ling Yuan, he might as well hit himself with a brick. As long as you're willing, no one can stop me from marrying you, Zhou Yi said confidently. They'll agree whether they like it or not, Qian Xunji, you piece of garbage. You kidnapped my saint and didn't say anything, and now you're here to give me trouble. I'll fight you. Zhou Yi, I'll let you use both hands and feet. If you take one step back, I lose. Okay. Ling Yuan's eyes flashed with shyness, and she groaned softly. Was I rough with you when I was out of it? No. It doesn't matter. Ling Yuan buried her head against his chest in embarrassment. Zhou Yi inhaled the fragrance of her hair and whispered in her ear, I lost it before, I won't let that happen again. Ling Yuan wanted to say no, but she couldn't bring herself to dampen Zhou Yi's enthusiasm. After all, she was getting the benefits of his generosity. The beauty elixir, the spiritual wine. Seeing Ling Yuan's silence, Zhou Yi knew he was in. He was overjoyed. He glanced at the system rewards, give myself some fun, star, reward 1, star immortal clothes, reward 2, soul ring upgrade card, can upgrade any soul ring to 100,000 years. Chapter 78 Qian Xunji, please don't come, the Wuhun Hall has been hollowed out, please vote for me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Star immortal clothes. Soul ring upgrade card. I've already gotten the soul ring upgrade card once, but the star immortal clothes are awesome. Perfect fit, pristine condition, can be stored inside my body, super strong defense, and invisibility special effects. The defense was already great. Now, with the star immortal clothes, it's practically maxed out. I doubt even gods could break through, Zhou Yi thought to himself. Instead of immediately using the star immortal clothes and upgrading the soul ring, Zhou Yi looked at Ling Yuan in his arms. Her hair was like a black waterfall, her eyes were elegant, and her face was delicate and pretty, with a cool charm. Through their deep conversations, and the promises Zhou Yi made, any distance between them had vanished. Like that writer said, the fastest way to understand and win a woman's heart is through her body. Even though they were familiar with each other, they hadn't known each other long. Ling Yuan, being a powerful title Douluo, still maintained her composure, always cool and collected. Even when he pushed her hard, she would just bite her lip to keep quiet, frowning and squeezing her eyes shut, afraid to look at Zhou Yi. Seeing this, Zhou Yi felt even more driven. Time blurred. Ling Yuan, limp in Zhou Yi's arms, finally regained consciousness and said, what are you going to do with Demon Bear Douluo and the others? Any ideas? Zhou Yi hugged her soft body, leaned in close, and asked. Killing them would be like burning bridges with the spirit hall. Better to win them over. Ling Yuan said, they're all titled Douluo, very strong, and not that loyal to the spirit hall. Bribe them with martial arts skills, and they'll definitely pledge their loyalty. Qianxunji, you're a real credit to the elder position, Okay. Zhou Yi nodded and kissed her face. Rest up. I'm going to check on them, make sure they don't die from the poison. Ling Yuan nodded slightly, and Zhou Yi pulled away, covered her with a quilt, and went to where Demon Bear Douluo, Ghost Leopard Douluo, Snake Spear Douluo, and Squirrel Douluo were lying. The star immortal clothes activated automatically, convenient, easy. Instead of rushing to save them, Zhou Yi used the soul ring upgrade card on his second soul ring, upgrading it to 100,000 years, the original soul skill. Evolved into a teleportation skill, Zhou Yi tried it out. The teleportation was great, 1,000 meters in an instant. Sweet. Back at his original position, Zhou Yi looked at the 4 titled Douluo. With a wave of his hand, 4 antidote pills flew into their mouths. Phantom of Heavenly Palace. Before they woke up, Zhou Yi used his mental power to manipulate their minds, creating a dreamlike illusion of a celestial realm. in this world, Zhou Yi sat on high, radiating divine majesty, overlooking the heavens. 3,000 immortals, Buddhas, gods, and demons bowed in worship to the martial ancestor, when demon bear Douluo, ghost leopard Douluo, porpoise Douluo, and snake spear Douluo arrived. They were like rabbits among lions, overwhelmed by Zhou Yi's terrifying presence. Their minds went blank. They knelt in awe and surrender, chanting the name of martial ancestor. Time passed. After worshipping the martial ancestor for centuries, he finally bestowed upon them a magical martial art, the One Yang skill. They obtained it and practiced hard for decades, finally breaking through to level 100. Then, they woke up. The four of them opened their eyes, dazed and confused by the strange illusion. Awake, the soft voice in their ears sounded like a thunderclap, deafening them. They jumped up, startled. They bowed instinctively and said, "Greetings, martial ancestor." Zhou Yi stood with his hands clasped behind his back, not turning to look. "You trespassed in my training grounds and were poisoned and knocked unconscious. I gave you the antidote, then used my great power to enter your dreams and teach you the One Yang skill. If you perform well in the future, I'll teach you more profound skills. Becoming a god isn't impossible. We thank martial ancestor for his kindness, and we're willing to die for him." They spoke in unison without hesitation, their voices strong and firm. At the same time, as Zhou Yi spoke, they gradually remembered everything. Zhou Yi's phantom of heavenly palace had allowed them to live in that illusion for centuries, blurring the lines between reality and dream. Regardless, Zhou Yi's majesty had been deeply imprinted on their hearts. Betraying him was almost impossible. "Try out the One Yang skill." Zhou Yi turned, looked at them, and said, "Yes, martial ancestor." The four of them calmed their racing thoughts and began practicing the One Yang skill as if they'd been doing it for decades. Zhou Yi watched quietly, his eyes calm and deep. This was his first time using the phantom of heavenly palace to teach skills mentally. He didn't know how well it would work. The four demon bear Douluo were his guinea pigs. If it worked, he could spread martial arts much faster and easier. For the women in his life who were new to martial arts, Zhou Yi could use this method to help them learn quickly. Having practiced the One Yang skill for decades in the illusion, the four demon bear Douluo were very skilled. They weren't held back at all. Zhou Yi could clearly see the flow of soul power in their bodies. The soul power moved with the technique, quickly transforming into yang energy. "Great! Awesome!" Zhou Yi was overjoyed. This method worked. He teleported to Lingyuan Douluo's side, lifted the quilt, and moved closer. He reached out to find the warmth of her body in his arms. "Still want more?" Lingyuan's eyes were faint, as if she were slightly scared. "Don't worry. I'll teach you a magical skill." Zhou Yi didn't move, but used the phantom of heavenly palace to teach Lingyuan the 9 Yin manual and the spiritual illusion. The 9 Yin manual was like the sacred heart skill, all-encompassing. It included not only exercises but also many supporting martial arts, like the soul-moving method, the tendon-changing bone-forging seal, the spiral 9 shadows, the 9 Yin white bone claw, etc. 10 years passed. Lingyuan learned them all. Zhou Yi dispelled the phantom. Lingyuan woke up, disoriented. She finally came to her senses, felt the martial arts skills in her mind, and was deeply moved. "Thank you, darling." Lingyuan didn't know how to express her feelings, so she took the initiative. Of course, Zhou Yi accepted it happily. They stayed on the mountain where the ice and fire eyes were for 3 days. Everywhere there had their footprints. 3 days later, Lingyuan returned to Spirit Hall City with demon bear Douluo, ghost leopard Douluo, squirrel Douluo, and snake spear Douluo. Zhou Yi promised Lingyuan that he would marry her soon. The four demon bear Douluo no longer needed to follow Zhou Yi and return to Spirit Hall to serve as their elders, waiting for the right moment. Qian Xunji. What the hell? You morons! Chapter 79. Promoted to level 100, children reach level 5, and a big gift package arrives. Please vote. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zhou Yi returned to the Zhou mansion and gathered his disciples, Yu Xiaogang, Chen Xian, Zhao Wuji, Zhang Long, Zhao Hu, Chao Chao, Ma Han, Zhang San, and Li Si. Aside from Yu Xiaogang, Chen Xian, and Zhao Wuji, the others were registered disciples. However, Zhang Long, Zhang Hu, and some of the others had been with Zhou Yi for years. Zhou Yi was now ready to formally take them on as disciples and teach them the 9 Yin manual. Zhou Yi hadn't picked their names, he'd chosen them from a crowd of people because their names sounded auspicious. "Your disciples greet you, teacher." They all called out. Zhou Yi officially welcomed Zhang Long, Zhang Hu, and the others into his sect, and they were ecstatic. He then used his heavenly palace projection to teach them the 9 Yin manual and the martial ancestor Qianquan. "Thank you, teacher," that they were thrilled, thanking him as if they'd won the lottery. Remember, Zhou Yi warned, the 9 Yin manual is a closely guarded secret of our sect. You are not to share it with anyone outside the sect. Violators will have their martial arts revoked and be expelled. Your disciples understand and will never betray your trust. They responded solemnly. Now, get to practicing. If you have any questions, come ask me. After the explanation, Zhou Yi looked at Xiaogang. "Xiaogang, do you have the martial ancestor book ready?" "Yes, teacher. Here it is." Xiaogang took a book from his robes and offered it with both hands. Zhou Yi took it and flipped through it casually. It covered Zhou Yi's life story, his theories, and most importantly, the set of boxing techniques called Wuzhu Changquan. This book was meant for distribution worldwide. While people could learn Wuzhu Changquan from the book alone, it was difficult to master it without guidance. Therefore, Zhou Yi had just taught his disciples the 9 Yin manual and Wuzhu Changquan so that, once the book was released, they could travel to different regions and provide free instruction, and if they came across any gifted individuals, they could take them on as disciples. That way, when the Wuzong sect was officially established, it would already have a foundation. "Good," Zhou Yi said, closing the book. "Print this version and make sure it gets into every city, big and small. Set the price at 1 gold soul coin." "Yes, teacher." "Now go and practice hard. In a few days, you'll be going out to spread the word." Preaching is a form of practice itself. A warrior cultivates not just the body, but also the mind. Reading about a subject is not as good as seeing it firsthand. Yu Xiaogang and the others were inspired. "We will follow your teachings." They responded in unison. Excited, they went off to practice their newly acquired skills, and Zhou Yi headed to the backyard. He saw Xiao Wu teaching Bibi Dong about martial arts. "Honey," Xiao Wu's eyes lit up when she saw Zhou Yi arrive. She jumped up, ran over, and wrapped her arm around his. She was so happy. Bibi Dong also stood up and came over to Zhou Yi's side. With a hint of shyness, she said, "Husband, you're back. I heard you built an 800-meter-high martial god city all by yourself. It's amazing." "It's nothing. I'll take you to see it later. It's just an empty space now." Zhou Yi hugged Xiao Wu and Bibi Dong close. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Looking at the beautiful and refined Bibi Dong, Zhou Yi grew amorous. "Donger, Xiao Wu, let's go. I'll take you back to your room for some cultivation." "Ugh, I'm going to play with Sister A Yin." Xiao Wu rolled her eyes at Zhou Yi and ran off. It wasn't that she didn't want to spend time with Zhou Yi, it's just that Bibi Dong had only just arrived, and she was too shy to compete with her. "Husband, it's still daytime." Bibi Dong didn't know what Zhou Yi meant by cultivation. "I really want to teach you some incredible skills," Zhou Yi said earnestly. "Really?" Seeing his serious expression, Bibi Dong wondered if she had misjudged the situation. Before she could finish the thought, she was suddenly lifted into the air by Zhou Yi. "And here I thought you were going to teach me incredible skills," Bibi Dong teased, rolling her eyes. Teaching and cultivation go hand in hand. Zhou Yi carried Bibi Dong toward the bedroom. He did want to teach Bibi Dong the 9 Yin manual, but he really missed her beauty. For several days, Zhou Yi was inseparable from Bibi Dong. Finally, Zhou Yi emerged. Li Shishir and Li Baishir were about to give birth. Yes, the sisters were pregnant at the same time. Zhou Yi waited outside the door, a little excited and a little expectant. Now a father of 3, Zhou Yi wasn't as nervous as he used to be. Besides, as long as he was there, Li Shishir and Li Baishir were in no danger. The Sacred Heart art could bring people back from the brink of death. and his master-level medical skills meant he could easily perform a C-section without endangering them. Afterward, he could use medicine to restore them to their original condition without leaving a single scar. Wah! Wah! Two loud cries announced the births of Li Shishir and Li Baishir's children. Li Shishir had a son, Li Baishir had a daughter. Shishir, Baishir, thank you, darlings. Zhou Yi entered the room, held both women's hands, and comforted them. Zhou Yi named Li Shishir's son Zhou Qing. Li Shishir's martial soul was a small blue lion. He named Li Baishir's daughter Zhou Bai, simple and straightforward. After they rested, Zhou Yi excitedly began checking his rewards. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the new child. Reward 1, 10 years of cultivation. Reward 2, 10 years of life. Reward 3, a bottle of superior beauty pills, 10 pills. This was the reward for Li Shishir's son, Zhou Qing, the same reward as A Yin's daughter, Zhou Yueying. Ding! Congratulations to the host for the new child. Reward 1, 10 years of cultivation. Reward 2, 10 years of life. Reward 3, Mingyu Divine Skill. This was the reward for Li Baishir's daughter, Zhou Bai. Although the Mingyu Divine Skill was useless to Zhou Yi, it was on par with the 9 Yin manual. It was an authentic Taoist skill, the signature power of Yihua Palace. It was perfect for women to practice, keeping their appearance eternally youthful. Yao Yue and Lianqing were the most famous practitioners. Excellent. Zhou Yi was very happy. If he had more kids in the future, getting another Mingyu Divine Skill would be great. Zhou Yi claimed the rewards immediately. The 20 years of life made Zhou Yi feel bursting with energy. He even felt that this longevity wasn't just about lifespan, it also reflected vitality. In other words, if his lifespan reached a certain point, his vitality would be terrifying, even nearly unkillable. For example, if someone cut Zhou Yi in half, he'd recover in a heartbeat thanks to his vitality. I used to think lifespan was useless, but it turns out it's quite useful. Zhou Yi nodded to himself, satisfied. Next, the 20 years of cultivation instantly boosted Zhou Yi to level 99, but breaking through from level 99 to 100 was difficult. Qian Daolu, Tang Chen, and Bo Saishi had spent decades trying, but they failed in their lifetimes. But 20 years of cultivation was definitely powerful. Zhou Yi finally broke through at the last moment, reaching level 100. So this is level 100 power. Excellent. Tremendous. Zhou Yi smiled slightly, feeling like he could kill a god with a single punch. Of course, Zhou Yi had never actually seen a god, so he wasn't sure, but he wasn't worried either. Although he didn't have a god status, he had the martial god realm and could continue to practice and get stronger. Ding! Congratulations to the host for reaching 5 children. You will be rewarded with a milestone gift pack.